but you have to, as you said, you have to prove it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't mind, you know, I don't mind proving myself because I would never want to just be all talk and no action. I
Mm-hmm.
would, and
That's
I feel
true.
like you're the same way. You really speak, you really speak to your morals. And one of the things that you mentioned to me that I really respect, and something that I'm going to definitely be inspired by in the way that I, conduct my business, is that you really talked about how you really you really take the time to take care of the entertainers that you work with. And can you talk a little bit more about kind of how you feel like your approach, um, what kind of things you do differently, that you feel like, makes you the amazing event planner and organizer and, producer that you are? What kind of, what are the things that you feel like that you do differently that make a bigger difference
I
with the
keep my word.
clients?
I keep my word. When I talk with the entertainer, I ask what they want, how much they want, and then I go to the client and we negotiate what it is that they are looking for and what they want to pay.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing it and bringing that entertainer in for myself, I'm going to treat that entertainer like I want to be treated. People don't understand something, and here's the problem. If an entertainer is charging, let's say, $10,000 to perform, a lot of people don't even understand it. They say, "Oh my God, $10,000. That's a lot of money." Well, they ain't working, especially now with the pandemic. Well, they're not working. Why am I going to give them $10,000? And excuse me. Here's why. If you don't, like James Brown said, if you don't put a dollar sign on yourself and know your self worth, then nobody else will. Here's the reason why an artist may charge 10,000 or 15 or $20,000. I tell you why. All that money is not going to them. They have to pay, depend on the rider, they have to pay for the airfare. And nowadays with this pandemic, the airfare has gone up. Okay? Depending on if it's a group and a band and they coming from different cities, some airfare is going to cost more than others. It depends on if they have to pay for their lodging or if that client is paying for their lodging. Most of the time, the client does pay for the lodging, but then you also have to pay for the agent or the agency that got you the gig, which is typically 10 to 15% commission on whatever you charge. Then you got to consider that they're getting up early in the morning, coming in a day early. They got to do sound check. They got to pay the band. Okay, every band member got to be paid. It depends on lighting and sound. They may have to bring in their lighting sound. They got to get ready. As far with a woman, we got hair, we got makeup. Guys got to have their suits, shirts together, the whole bit. So all this is being deducted. So you got to
Right.
respect that artist when they ask for that type of money because at the end of the day, they actually not getting $12,000. It's subtract. So when people are asking for someone to perform, they need to really consider and understand what that artist or group is going through to get to you to give you a good show. And all that money is not going in that individual pocket.
Right. There's a lot of and I did hear somebody said, if hopefully you guys can hear me. I have the microphone is turned on. It seems to be things seem to be good. Hopefully people can hear me okay. But I just changed the level. So if you still can't hear me, let me know. But I think it should be good. You can hear me okay, Mabel?
I can hear you.
Okay. But I would say something in the comments if you guys still can't hear me. But as far as I can tell, my microphone's on and it's pretty hot. So I don't want to blow people out either. But in terms of what you just were saying, I think that that's a good conversation to have. It's a good thing to talk about because I know as an entertainer, and also as a booker, being in both situations where I'm booking an event, but I'm also like going to perform in it. And so I also, the fact I think putting yourself in that person's shoes and saying, okay, what, because so many people don't think about the fact that you're not just paying for the actual, people say, oh, $100 an hour, that's so much, or, whatever, $500 an hour. But the thing is, so much goes into not just the things that you mentioned, but even on a smaller level,
Mm-hmm.
even as a jazz musician, I paid like $100,000 to go to school to study this. I paid, not only that, I had to pay for instruments. I had to pay for the education. And so, that's a lot of money that gets put down just to be on that level. And then of course all the hours that you spend practicing
Mm-hmm.
to hone your craft. And people don't think about the fact that if you really were to count the hours that musicians put into the
The original
sound,
show, and yes,
right there, then we, for what we
it,
get paid, we probably don't even get paid as much as we should, unless you're on the, maybe on the really high levels. But even still, there's still so much, like you said, there's so many
mhm.
expenses.
And people don't. Another thing people don't understand: there are some really fantastic local artists in the community here
Hmm.
in Chicago that people need to start looking at and saying, you know what, I want to use some local entertainers. Because if you can't pay the 10 and 12,000 and 15 and 20,000, look at your local entertainers. They got to start from somewhere, and we have some excellent entertainers here in Chicago that are local. And I try to advocate for them and try to book them as much as I can. I know everybody like a name, but you got to start from somewhere, and they could be a good opening act. You know, they need to, they need the exposure, just like how you gonna get up to the top if you don't start from the bottom.
Black to business, we're a family, melanated we need to breathe, need to see the truth from wisdom. Hey. There's diamonds hiding beyond our pain, our